Spidey's hot on the trail, and this time it looks to have led him to the train yards. Well, things look quiet now, but evil is afoot, and it's up to our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man to ferret out evil where it lay.
This place looks like a prison complex. There are guards everywhere. No doubt they're all Hammerhead's men. Well, I don't want to alert the whole place, so I better play this one quiet and sneaky.
Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro. Yeah, navigating around the train yard. And again, it's also continuing the level design trends of having Enter Electro take elements from the first game and spin them around. In this case, it's kind of taking something similar to the sewer gimmick where we had to flick switches and access more of the train yard, whilst also just sort of navigating around. Being a bit hush-hush, sneaking around like a Spider-Man. Because, of course, sneaking around areas, you might think that would be something a man with pointy ears and a cape would do, but it's game design that's quite freaky, pretty sleazy, and something that they'd later take for the 2018 game to make you feel like Spider-Man. God, that's starting to hurt my throat. But, to more important topics, and, you know what, I guess since that's hurting my throat, and you probably are wondering for a reason why I'm just so busy ranting about why things feel like Spider-Man, just to get the running joke a little bit more context. Yeah, again, I'm sure a lot of people are probably also sick of the comparison as well, but again, like, I mean, it always runs the gamut of being a little bit chillish whenever you call a game, oh wow, this game is literally so good, it makes you feel like Spider-Man. Which, I mean, does tend to happen with some other superhero games in and of itself, you know, Batman and all that kind of stuff, is that what exactly constitutes feeling like Spider-Man for one game more than the others? Swinging on webs, shooting bad guys and beating them up and fighting villains, because that's pretty much what most of the Spider-Man games do anyway, so what exactly is this adjective of feeling like Spider-Man really supposed to mean to anybody? It's pointless. But again, like, I'm sure it's probably just more of like a game journalism sort of euphemism or something that, you know, a game company can slap on the back of the box and say, oh wow, it makes you feel more like character and thing. Fucking oath, gotta buy that. Kinda like when they plaster weird other slogans to stuff, like how televisions nowadays output in, you know, 4K Ultra HD, it's like, holy fucking shit, but gotta make sure I get tickets to that. I don't know, like, I mean, we've come so far from the likes of, you know, fucking blast processing on the fucking Mega Drive, and yet we still have shit like this. Fucking oath. Technology industry never change. And I mean that in this day and age of artificial intelligence. But don't worry, so long as we can have music covers with stupid shit, it's all good. Wow, I'm fucking cynical and ancient and my bones are crackling to dust. But whatever, the sooner I'm dead, the better. In any case, I was initially going to keep stum about the villains that we're going to be facing in this, hallowed playthrough of playthroughs, including the Soldano Man in terms of obscure villains. By the way, look at this area. I wonder what sort of budget Vicarious Visions had to work with, because, yeah, this is literally the Dr. Octopus / Carnage lab from the first game, mixed in with a train segment. Rather curious. Oops. But, anyway, one of the villains that we're chasing, you know, the guy in the trench coat who got the briefcase after he was given it by Shocker, is in fact the Beetle. Now, if you're wondering who the Beetle is, I have absolutely no idea. He shows up for literally one cutscene in the game, which is gonna be in the level after this one, and he never shows up in the game again. He doesn't even have a, to my knowledge, I don't even think he actually has like a profile thing in the in-game, oh, who was this villain thing? Where it will usually list every other villain we have, you know, from fucking Shocker to, you know, Electro and all that kind of thing, but yeah, the Beetle, shockingly absent, so while we do have things coming up, I figured I might as well just sort of fill out the rest of this time talking about the Beetle. Who is he? Why should you care? And I'm talking about this specific incarnation of the Beetle circa when this game came out. So, the Beetle. Who is he? And this is comic book continuity, not game continuity, because this game can't be fucked to explain anything about him. So, the Beetle. Name, Abner Jenkins, a former aircraft technician who used his mechanical engineering skills to create a mech Beetle suit and became a mercenary for hire. After being passed over for promotions at his job, he basically said, "Fuck you, see you later, I'm gonna use my technology for evil," and basically became an enemy of Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four. So yeah, he's basically on the even lower tier of Spider-Man villains than the likes of fucking Shocker or even Electro. Which is probably part of the reason why you never heard of him. I heard he was actually briefly considered for the 90s animated series, but shock of all shocks, he didn't show up. How about that? Anyway, he sucked as a mercenary and soon ditched the Beetle identity and became Mark 1, then eventually Mark 2, Mark 3, Mark 4, all the way up to Mach-X, joined the Thunderbolts where he died by some chick called Kobik, I think? Which was basically some weird experiment with a cosmic cube that took the form of a little girl, who then destroyed the Thunderbolts' hideout, and subsequently the Beetle along with them. And that's the end of Mach-X / the Beetle. He sucked as a mercenary, joined the Thunderbolts, which I think is like either the... I'm not too sure what the Thunderbolts was. I thought it was initially I think it was the New Warriors, which was meant to be like a celebrity hero group in the vein of Youngblood, but I'm thinking more in terms of Civil War stuff. Yeah, I think the Thunderbolts was meant to be like a villain-ish group kind of thing. I don't really know. Never heard of them. So whatever, really. Basically, the Beetle sucked as a mercenary. He changed his identity as to something edgy and cool. Then he died after getting killed by this weird comic booky cosmic shit thing. And, that's the end of the Beetle. But now what's onto a villain with pretty much the same level of credibility as the Beetle, to be honest.
Wait a minute here. That guy has a case too. Bet they're responsible for that train robbery. What's so important about those cases? Huh? Mother...
Oh my god, it's the Sandman! Or I suppose in comic book terms, the Sandman is in the Neil Gaiman... Was that a graphic novel? Fuck it, there's really no fucking difference between the two mediums, but yeah, we'll be getting a more efficient boss battle against the Sandman a little bit later. In the meantime, it's basically just destroying his walls. Yes, that's right, we're breaking down Flint Marco's emotional barriers, and telling him that it's okay to be weak. You may not be able to feel like Spider-Man, but it's okay to be weak. I'm kidding, of course. Sandman at this point is really just more of a distraction, really. Your primary objective is catching the train before time runs out, and this is the mission that I actually had a lot more trouble with, more than the fucking plane one. I guess maybe on earlier playthroughs I was too busy fighting Sandman, but yeah, all he does is just sort of teleport down and try and smack you with sand hammers. And, yeah, that's pretty much all she wrote, really. Just focus all your attention on the wall, try and avoid getting pipped where you can, and, yeah, can be a little bit tricky at times, depending on whether or not Sandman gives you space to breathe, but apart from that, you should be able to catch up before the end. Dun-dun-dun-dun. But yeah, the most significant Sandman thing I've ever seen him in is Spider-Man 3. I heard he was initially planned to appear in the 90s animated series, but because of like a well, I'm not really too sure what it is. I think it's something kind of similar to something DC has with the Bat embargo, where basically certain characters can't appear in TV shows unless there's either stipulations of having them have a starring role, as is the case with Wonder Woman, or in some cases, like, two different continuities starring the same character, like, again, to use a DC example, the fact that Joker couldn't appear in Batman... No, not Batman, the animated series, in Justice League because of the fact that he was slated to appear in the 2004 Batman cartoon and then couldn't appear in that show because they had him for, you know, the 2008 Dark Knight movie. Moves that are done purely so that kids don't get confused about two characters appearing in completely different continuities. Anyway, the point of trivia that I was trying to make is that basically the reason why Sandman didn't appear in the 90s series was because that he was actually slated for a Spider-Man movie directed by James Cameron from the early to mid-90s. Which is also part of the reason why Hydro Man got the appearance in that series rather than Sandman. Depending on your taste, kind of for the better or kind of for the worse, because... Well, Hydro Man was a bit of a creep in that show. That's all I'll say about it.
you have to do with this?
Times change, Spider-Man. I do what I have to. Some other time, Spider Jerk.
And what's this? Looks like Spiderella's going to the ball.
You know, it's weird, I didn't actually know who the Beetle was when I first played this game, and I initially thought that maybe he was meant to be like a hero that then turned into a villain or something, and that gave him a bit of intrigue, but no, he was always a mercenary villain, so that's fucking boring, dude.
We are close to our goal, gentlemen. The device you see before you allows an average citizen's body energy to power a city block. In my hands, that power would be limitless. We need Dr. Watts to finish the device. Only she knows where to find the missing piece.
Yeah, plans and speeches are all well and good, but I think you're forgetting about one thing. Spider-Man.
I've already prepared for that eventuality. Let me introduce our insurance policy. Enthusiasms, enthusiasms. What are mine? What is it which gives me joy? Destroying Spider-Man. A man stands alone, facing the web slinger. This is the time for what? For individual achievement. But in a mob? Part of a team. Tomorrow night, the good doctor will be attending the Science and Industry Ball. I'm gonna get the doctor myself. But I get nowhere unless the team takes out Spider-Man. Spider-Man!
This unauthorized parody brought to you by The Untouchables. At least I think that was the movie's title anyway. I haven't seen it for certain, but that was actually a really well-framed scene. Obviously it was borrowed from a movie, which probably explains why the cinematography was a little bit more avant-garde than usual, as you see in these sorts of games, but nonetheless it was quite an effective scene, especially with the use of raspberry juice as blood. Spider-Man's blood. At least we are safe in knowing that it is not Chris's blood. But yeah, much, kind of pretty much the same way as the bank hostages from the Neversoft game. Yeah, much in the same vein here, rescue the hostages, make sure they don't get caught by Hammerhead's goons, and, yeah, jobs are good, and save the hostages and do a little bit more. Not too bad of a segment, but you do have to hurry up in some instances, like the falling lift, which will net you a game over, even though Spider-Man ain't technically died. Yeah, but then again, power, responsibility, all that sort of thing. I don't know if Spider-Man has like a kind of Batman clause, whereas like he'll only save people, but if there's nothing he can do, then fuck it, whatever. Then again, Spider-Man has always had more of a guilt complex about not using, about using powers for others before himself. A very relevant message, but at the same time, it does come to much suffering of Peter Parker, and after all, if you want to feel like Spider-Man, you need to take responsibility. And I mean, I've always sort of, well, I mean, again, I can kind of see why they don't do this for the sake of drama or anything, but it kind of does make me wonder if, like, again, if Spider-Man is so bound to his responsibility and using his powers for good, why doesn't he just axe off the Peter Parker identity and just become Spider-Man full-time? Because, I mean, and again, I'm basing this off very limited experiences with, all media of Spider-Man based on what brief few comics I've read, what brief few, movies and whatever I've seen. But why doesn't he just say, fuck it, set up his own superhero thing and at least, like, join a hero group or something, or at least just stay as Spider-Man? Because, I mean, it's clear that he can't balance his lifestyle, which, again, is obviously part of the drama, part of the whole relatability aspect that is Marvel's bread and butter compared to DC. I don't know, it just sort of strikes me that he'd save a lot of trouble if he just focused on superheroics full-time, rather than just going like, oh no, money trouble's gotta pay the bills, and just join up with, like, another hero sort of agency. Because, I mean, what's really the fucking deal? The Fantastic Four, like, really like, no, Spider-Man, you can't join us, we gotta maintain our full membership thing. Or are the Avengers like, fuck off, Spidey, we're We don't care for the likes of you. And that's not even beginning to get into the whole X-Men thing of, like, okay, they're mutants and they're prejudiced and people hate them, but why do people like Captain America with his fucking serum-juiced sexy abs get to exist in the same universe as, like, fucking Ghost Rider, the Hulk, and whatever else, and go scot-free against, like, mutant rights things? You know what, I'm slowly starting to see the reason why people think that the X-Men universe should be separate from the Marvel one, because that's, I don't know if they ever address that at some point. I mean, if they do, I'd really like to hear the explanation, but I don't know, I guess prejudice is weird like that. Or maybe it kind of works in like a similar vein to something akin to like, I hate all black people, except for him. He's cool. Maybe that kind of very shady fucking deal, which is, very uncomfortable and would probably be problematic and get some fuckboy ranting on the internet. It's like, oh, problematic, oh, it's gonna turn them evil. Yeah, whatever. That's delving into territory that's a bit too hachi-machi for me.
Better start making sense, lady. Zeus says what?
Just 6 of you against 1 woman? That seems a bit unfair. Unless that happens to be Elektra, in which case you're toast.
Come on.
Yeah, come on. What am I paying you fools for? Don't just stand there! After her! Don't know where you think you're going.
I was just gonna see if they had any more of those Empire State Building snow globes. Hey, do you want one?
So this is Hammerhead, pretty much a typical crime boss of the Max Payne ilk, and he'll run at you, charge, then basically use the web yank, use your web fist, beat the shit out of him. Job's a good one, not a very difficult boss fight. Did get a much more pain in the ass one in the Spiderman PS4 game for the City That Never Sleeps DLC, and even worse one in the final part where he becomes a giant fuck-off robot. Honestly, I don't even fucking why. Pointless. The only real saving grace of that DLC was when you get to learn about the fact that Yuri turns evil. So, yeah, I'm Solidus-Skully, keeping new metal, and catch you next time for more spider antics.
There. I hope that holds him. Because there's still a damsel in distress that needs rescuing. What the? Maybe that woman was Elektra. What's this? First Hammerhead and now Sandman's back. And what do they want with the doctor? I know she works at Biotech. I've seen her there with Connors before. Maybe he knows what this is all about. Come on, Doc. Boy, it sounds like Connors is in some real trouble. I really need to limit myself to 1 rescue a day.